Pixel Pushers, it's Sadiq Hussain here from the Pixel Pushers YouTube channel with another Affinity photo tutorial. This time we're going to be looking, as the title suggests, text and textures. That's a bit of a mouthful, so I'll try not to get my teeth wrapped around that. So there we have a word, some text, and I've applied a texture. The texture actually is of some wire mesh. So a photograph I took, and I'll show you that in a moment. And then you can change obviously the parameters of the text, the blend modes, the opacity, also select parts of the text. I actually selected the highlighted areas and then deleted them, so it's sort of got a semi-transparent look, a bitty look to it. And that's just an example. It's just really to demonstrate the power of all the different tools that you've got, so that you're given text that you're going to use, how can you treat it to give it a unique quality to it. Okay, so this time I'm actually going to do this video slightly differently. Rather than start from the beginning and actually do each step, I've done all the steps. So what I'm going to do is to go back to the beginning and start from there and actually take you through the steps one at a time. Okay, we'll see how this goes, and if it doesn't come across very clearly, we can always do another one. So let's try something new. So start with a blank document, and I'm just going through the history palette here on the bottom right, and I'm just going to go through each step. Okay, and I will describe each step as we go along. Some of them will be irrelevant and won't need a description, but if I do, I'll talk you through it. Okay, so we're going to insert some text. Okay, so as we go through, write whatever you want to do, change the font to suit. Okay, and then as we go through, this is the image that I imported. Remember, rather than as a new layer, you could obviously copy the layer from an open image already, or better still, just go to File and Place, and then go to your texture image. Then it places it on its new layer automatically, which of course you can move about if you want to. Okay. Okay, because I'd done an edit there, I thought I'd lost all the subsequent parts of the history, but I haven't. They are there. Okay, so it adds a little node here, and it means that they are there once you click on it. Okay, that's something new that I've discovered. So once you've placed the text, a texture on top, and this, as I said, it's a wire mesh. But of course it could be all kinds of different textures. And as we go through, the text layer is underneath, the wire mesh is on top. So you can experiment where you put, what order you put them in. Okay, you can move them. I'll move the text up now and the wire mesh so it's on top. Okay. Change the blend mode. So always try changing the blend mode, and there's no right or wrong blend mode. It's whatever looks good or interesting or serves the purpose for you. So I've chosen soft light, but of course you could have chosen something different. Then I've rasterized and trimmed the layer, so it gets rid of all the other the rest of it, and I've also masked the top layer with the text with the texture underneath it. Okay, and then just going to go through. Some of these are not really worth going through, just me experimenting different variables. Some of them work, some of them don't. Then I've set the adjustment parameters, so I've changed the applied a curves adjustment. So again, you can try, see what looks good. It looks more like points of light now, almost like LEDs, as opposed to a wire mesh. So, I didn't particularly want it to look like the wire mesh, but of course you could do that. Keep that if you wanted to. Again, different adjustment layers, then merging down, so combining layers. Then I've selected the highlights using the select and then total range and highlights, and then I've deleted in this case the bright areas. Then I've taken away the background white document. Okay, then I've cleared the selection and I'm going through now. Then of course moving it, transforming it, changing its size. Then I want to put it on an image, so I've imported an image, changed it round, moved it round, and then put the text where I want to, resize it because the image is a portrait orientation, place it where I want to, and again selected the blend mode, so you can change the blend mode. I've got it to divide now, and then I've changed the perspective using the perspective tool, which is over here on the left hand side. You can do that there, transformed it. Again, I've added a different effect using the effects panel of the layer at the bottom here. You can add a color to it if you want to. Again, change the blend mode. You can do all of that, and then we can change any other parameters that we want. Okay, so there's loads of within the effects of each given layer. There's all sorts of different 3D effects, shadows, outlines, color overlay, anything like that. But of course, that's entirely something you can decide to do. So I did experimented with quite a few. If I just zoom in, you can see there's a drop shadow there. That yellow color is an overlay from within that panel as well. Okay, do give me feedback if you find that this way of doing it, which is a little bit quicker, but is it clearer for you? Okay, so if it isn't, then do let me know, and of course I can redo it, but doing it so it's good to experiment different ways of communicating a given task. Okay, so that's essentially creating that. Then I actually wanted to put it on a different image. I felt that I wanted the image in the background to be different, so I did a different image, again using the place tool. This is a galactic core photograph, so a processed image already with a branch in the foreground. So I thought maybe that would be good to position it. So now we've got an extra layer here. I've disabled the layer underneath it, which was what we had before, so we're now just using that layer with the text, processed text on top. And now I'm just again changing the blend modes, see what works. And the color dodge blend mode allows me for it to look as if it's behind the branch but in front of the galactic core. Okay, so again, the blend modes and the opacity can help you to change and to see how a particular layer affects the pixels below or above it. Okay, so I tried different distortions to it, didn't like any of that, not appropriate for this, but of course that doesn't mean it's not appropriate, it's just not appropriate for what I wanted to do. And the whole point of this exercise is once you get some of the basics of what you can and can't do with the tools at hand, you can experiment, and it's about experimenting, and at some point you'll come across a really good outcome, and if you do, then you can save that and repeat it again and again. You can even create a macro, of course. Now, we haven't covered macros yet. That's much further down the line, but we will. But there's plenty of other, and I've just placed a white rectangle behind it using the shape tool, and then coloured it, and I sampled the colour from within the background sky, the purpley colour, just to give it some consistency. This was what I was getting to towards the end, where we're placing the text and the file on the right hand side on a neutral background, so we can put the text on ready for the thumbnail for the video itself for YouTube. So I'm just going to go through all of that just to show you the steps that you can take to do that. And then obviously I've changed the fill of the text, the positioning of it, and the size of it, check the spelling, the order of the text. So now that text is at the top, because otherwise the text disappears underneath that layer, because the order of the layers is critical to get the effect that you want. Then again, I've added effects from the effects panel down here to the text, and that pretty much is the end of that. Okay, so I hope you found that useful, and like I said, this is a different way of doing it, but really what we're looking at is how does the text look, how can we change it using a texture to blend it, to alter it, to give it a either distressed look or a unique look to it. Okay, we'll be doing more on using text and textures in the coming days, but that's just a start. And again, if I get some feedback about should I go back to the other way of doing the video, or should you want to do it this way, the steps, they're both different, but they both are different, but they get to the same end result. So do let me know, and unless you let me know, obviously I'll do one or two more like this. So thanks for watching, and do give it a like if you found it useful, and if you haven't, then again do let me know. All the feedback is useful, and subscribe if you haven't already done so, and I'll see you next time.